Hi, as I think you probably know by now, I'm dating coach Hayley Quinn, and in this short video, I'm going to be talking to you about an interesting text messaging principle, which is going to change how you interact with men. And today, the concept I'm going to be talking to you about is a little bit controversial. It's definitely something I have struggled with over the years, being someone who is a very direct and open communicator myself. So are you ready for it? The texting principle we're going to be talking about today is that saying nothing is still saying something. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, Hayley, this sounds a little bit like Victorian womanhood here, where I must look attractive but not dare say a word. And that's not what I'm suggesting for you to do. Instead, I think it's just to understand that sometimes inaction or silence or a lack of response communicates something powerfully on your behalf. And the powerful message it communicates does not have to be a passive-aggressive one of, that wasn't good enough for me. Sometimes by not needing to show someone or try too hard, we actually instead communicate a really deep trust within ourselves that we are lovable, that we are attractive, and that we are enough. So right now, I've got 5 examples of how this principle of by saying nothing, I'm still saying something could show up in your messaging and how you can apply it. The first scenario I'm going to take you through is that you're messaging a guy, but he's just not quite messaging you at the rate that you would like. You're not feeling that he's being very affectionate, you're not feeling desired or pursued, but you know you quite like him. So far, he's ticking a lot of boxes. He's the most exciting guy you've met in a while, and you really want to build this connection between you. When you're motivated in this way, it can be very easy to fall into the trap of thinking, how do I show him all this cool stuff about me? How do I send him a link to that work project that I'm doing? How can I be flirty with him to capture his interest? And suddenly you might notice that you're really fueling and driving the conversation. The problem with this is when we feel like we need to show someone something about ourselves. So it's like, how do I show him that I'm sexy? How do I show him that I'm smart? How do I show him that I'm successful? When we're coming from this performance place of needing to show, it's because on some level we are seeking the other person's acceptance. This is putting the cart before the horse, because at this stage of dating, you still really need to stay focused on whether this is right for you or not, whether this is matching your standards or not. So rather than trying to give to him what you actually would like to receive for yourself, at this stage, it actually might be better to hang back a little bit more and focus instead on whether his communication is lining up in a way with what you want. The second time that you may find that saying nothing is in fact saying something is not feeling the need to double extra reconfirm all your dates and all your plans. Again, go back to that space where you have a deep trust in yourself and your own attractiveness. If this is feeling like a bit of a mental stretch for you, I want you to think of some awesome female celebrity who you would imagine has queues of men outside her door wanting to date her, and think about how she would act in this particular scenario. So if you confirm the date several days ago and there haven't been many or any messages in between, instead of over-analyzing that and again worrying that this date isn't going to happen and that, oh no, what does that mean for your Friday night? Sometimes actually it's better to show that deep trust in yourself that of course it's going to happen. Instead, by the way, what's probably going on here is once a guy has that reassurance from you that the date is in the diary, a little bit of pressure is off for him, right? So he might just be taking it easy and taking a step back because the pressure is off. But trust me on this one, if a guy is really genuinely motivated to build a great relationship with you, then he is going to be making the effort and following up and confirming those plans. So you can just crack out a cold one, sit back, and actually allow him to make those plans with you. The third way this may show up for you is if he maybe messages you in a way that is too sexual too soon for you, or perhaps with a date plan that is just really lame, like, hey, I'm in your area in a few hours, are you free to hang out? Sometimes if something really doesn't meet your standards, whilst you may choose to respond at a later date, it doesn't immediately require a response. And sometimes if you leave things hanging just for a little bit, not forever, it can send a signal of, hey buddy, actually, that's not really in line with what I want. And that space can make him look again at what he's written and think, oh. And then he actually learns the lesson for himself. And if he's serious or he's got something more to offer you, remotivates himself to come back to you with a better plan. So here's a good example of sometimes where you don't actually need to go to all the emotional effort of spelling something out for him. Sometimes your silence is going to speak for you. The fourth way in which this might show up for you is even if you do choose to say something, you might not want to say all that much. Think of it this way: your energy for dating and life is a limited resource. If you want to save your emotional energy battery supply, then we want to invest less effort in these early stages of dating. So a lot of the time, unless someone has really seriously overstepped the mark on your boundaries, sometimes a lighter form of communication is better, because it actually means that you're less emotionally attached to the outcome of that communication. And bear in mind, if you've only known this guy a few weeks, then he shouldn't have that level of emotional hold on you, which makes you want to go into bat and tell him exactly why he's wrong. Instead, you might wake up the next morning and look at that message and be like, oh, I wish maybe I hadn't said that. So if anything, keep it light, keep it playful, and don't overinvest your energy into any situation until you know him better. The fifth and final way this principle might show up for you is this idea of building a connection. And what are we here dating for unless we want to build connections with people? However, I think in our modern world of WhatsApp, it can be misleading to feel like connections are always just built over message. And as much as it's nice to receive daily messages from someone, the really good stuff comes when you spend time with a person in real life. So in the very early stages of dating, it can actually be okay to not have to communicate everything via WhatsApp and leave some stuff for real life. Sometimes a short and sweet message like, I'll tell you about it in person, kiss, or I'll look forward to hearing about that in person, kiss, can send a signal of, I'm interested to get to know you, I do want to connect, but to get to that next level of connection, you should really arrange a date with me in person. This can also be helpful for you, as at the start, when you want to build that connection and you kind of actually would quite like to skip over perhaps this dating phase and get into something that feels more secure and more like a relationship, it can again prompt you to go into that showing mode of trying aggressively to build a connection over message. Instead, if you take that desire to connect and use it towards your friends, your co-workers, your family, and then leave some space here with him that he can also drive the interaction forwards, that he can stay focused on investing in meeting you in person. So I know saying less can sound like an alien concept to building a connection, but sometimes it can actually demonstrate that you have really good self-esteem, that you trust and believe that good things are going to happen in your dating life, and you're also okay to step back for a second and see how he shows up for you. You've not chosen him yet. He's still got some work to do to demonstrate that he has the right qualities for you to make a decision to commit to him. If you're interested by this advice on messages and you would really like to develop a better style for messages where you feel that they're more fun, less stressful, less boring, where you want to know when's the right time to really lean into an interaction and warm it up and give him a chance, and when's the right time to step back and observe his behavior, I would highly recommend that you check out my new ebook on messaging. So rather than dating feeling like a chore or a job interview or an interview process or something you don't want to do, let's figure out ways together how you can message in a way that's more liberating to you and more fun, but equally reserves your time and energy. If this is where you want to be and you want real clarity on what messages to send and tons of tried and tested examples of messages that you can easily utilize in your dating life today, as I said, I would highly recommend grabbing my ebook alongside all the other goodies I have in store for you that are going to help you to feel confident and empowered with how you communicate with men.